You want to know what this episode is like? If you have a sandwich and you put lettuce, tomatoes, ham, turkey, chicken, salami, and all of the ingredients, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, all in one, that is episode 63 of Dragon Ball Super, guys, because we had an insanely high amount of revelations and new things that happened. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video, as I'm going to go in depth about all this stuff and also give you my predictions. So the episode starts off. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Crunchyroll for opening up, Dragon Ball Super for people to watch earlier and for actually having subtitles. So I just wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out. I saw it from Crunchyroll. So let's start off with the episode by talking about Vegeta. So Vegeta pretty much destroys the Lookout because of, how intense his training was. And Goku obviously is completing his training session with Master Roshi as he's once again learning the Mafuba. So as we learned from the previous episode, Goku is more so along the lines of mastering a technique, and Vegeta is actually trying to increase his own power. So we go to the future and we see that Trunks is pretty much knocked out and he's sleeping, and Mai pretty much feeds him this senzu bean, but it actually was Yajirobe who was kind of like disguised as Mai in Trunks' vision. And the interesting thing about that is that it kind of goes back to what I said in the previous episode. I doubted that after Trunks kind of created himself as a decoy for Vegeta, Goku, and Bulma to escape in the previous episode, I was like, there's no way that Trunks is gonna fight them for days straight. Like, it's impossible. So I guess Trunks pretty much escaping the battlefield and coming back to fight another day is what happened. So the interesting thing is that while Trunks is talking to Yajirobe, he talks to him and he finds out that Mai pretty much discovered where Black's hideout was, and she pretty much took a team of guys to go fight him. Now, this is the weird part of this episode that I kind of didn't get. Mai loads her, I guess you could say, her energy shotgun with an energy rifle, I guess, that was created by Bulma. It was interesting, Bulma created him. And she pretty much shoots at Black. And the interesting thing about this is that this kind of reminded me a lot about the Bushido tradition in Japan. And I know a little bit about World War II. I'm not going to give you guys a history lesson, but pretty much, in essence, in a lot of ways, Japanese warriors have a tendency to go down fighting or killing their enemy, or at least trying, That's why a lot of times in World War II, a lot of Japanese soldiers, instead of being captured, they fought with a banzai charge. And this is kind of what Mai was showing, because she pretty much knows that if she hits Black and it fails, she is going to die, along with her partners that were obviously there with her. And the interesting thing about that is that not only did they find out about Black not being affected by this, but Black pretty much actually gets hit. And that was the interesting thing. Like, Black actually fell back. So those energy bullets, although they can't hurt Black significantly, it's enough to push him back. So that was something interesting, and to think that Bulma could create energy bullets like that. So Black gets hit. They pretty much locate Mai and her two partners, and they pretty much shoot like an energy blast, but obviously Trunks jumps in to save him, as we would have expected. And here's where the episode really starts to take off. So we now see Trunks fighting against Black and Zamasu once again, and this was an awesome moment. So as Trunks is fighting, he shoots a Gallic gun at Black, and this is actually very interesting because we've now seen Trunks in Dragon Ball Super use two He's used two of Vegeta's signature moves. He used the Final Flash in episode 57, and now in episode 63, he's now using the Gallic gun. So that was interesting to see how he was utilizing that. And the interesting thing is as he's continuing to fight Zamasu, we're starting to realize that Trunks, notices that he cannot defeat these guys, and that the only way he can pretty much defeat Zamasu, because Zamasu is pretty much the source, and because he's immortal, is that he pretty much nukes him so that he has nothing to regenerate back from. So we see him kind of trying to pull a Vegeta in the Boost Saga, or Majin Vegeta, and he's also trying to pull, Goku in GT, where he's pretty much going to blow himself up to stop Zamasu. But before he does so, Black literally stabs him right through the chest, and like Trunks is pretty much on the verge of dying once again. But as we know in Dragon Ball, Deus Ex Machina, right before Trunks is about to be finished off by them, Goku and Vegeta show up once again with Bulma. Now, here is the interesting thing about all of this. To create more tension, Dragon Ball Super now actually shows Black destroying the time machine, and it's literally like on fire. And in the time machine, they had the little urn or the jar that Goku was going to use to try and trap him with the Mafuba. And right after this, we also see that Gowasu and the Supreme Kai show up. And Gowasu actually came to this timeline by using the time rings. Now, this was interesting here, guys, because you would think that if Gowasu was coming over, he must have had a bigger plan. And I'm going to talk later on in the episode about why I ultimately realized why Gowasu is coming towards his future. It's pretty much being set up since episodes ago. So, as they're talking, they're pretty much talking about the fact that in the future, or in Trunks' timeline, you know, in such, all of the gods have pretty much been wiped out. And Goku was asking, so what about Whis? Is Whis, you know, he's pretty dependable, more dependable than Beerus. And the interesting thing is that we realize that Whis is an angel. It's finally been revealed. Whis is an angel, and it makes a lot of sense. And I'm actually going to do a video later on this week for my weekly super discussion going more so into it. So pretty much we find out that Whis is an angel and that he is completely dysfunctional. Like, he's not, his powers, I guess you could say, are not as active if Beerus dies. So he's kind of useless until another god of destruction is pretty much born. So after all of this narration, we see a little quick comical scene where Bulma is actually taking out the fire in the time machine, which I thought was pretty cool. But then you see her like go back to hide again. That was a cool scene. I mean, the reason why I found that this was an interesting scene is that we're seeing that Bulma is actually becoming a lot more useful in her own way. So Goku and Vegeta begin to fight Zamasu and Black over again, and I thought that this was probably a very well animated fight sequence. So Goku's doing very well against Zamasu, but in the meantime that we're seeing this, Bulma actually finds the broken pieces for the urn, meets up with Trunks, and she is literally asking Trunks to try and fix the urn by using glue. I thought that was a silly scene, and she said that he was good using puzzles as a kid, so I thought that was a pretty comical scene that they added in there. So as this is all happening, we're really seeing Vegeta get a shining moment in this episode. So he's kicking Black's ass. Yes, he's kicking his Black ass, guys. And there was a moment where Vegeta punches Black down. Black is all beat up, and he grabs him by his fucking head like he's about to use a fatality on him, guys. Like, I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. He literally picks him up by his hair, and he tells him, you know, you're a fake, and he's pretty much like just bashing him for pretty much taking Goku's body, and he's like, I'm the true Saiyan prince, and it was just an incredible moment to see Vegeta having that. Like, it was just awesome to see how Vegeta's talking about, I'm superior to Kakarot now, and that makes me bring up other things I'm going to talk about in the episode. But Vegeta really had the shining moment with his blast of rage against Black, and the cool thing about all of this is that Vegeta's taking out all of his anger on Black in a way because Black has Goku's body. So it's literally like Vegeta's kicking Goku's ass. So that was really kind of the highlight of all this stuff. And it was also good to see Goku holding his own with Zamasu. And Black is very shocked to see that Vegeta has gotten that much stronger. So talking more so about the action and the animation, I think the animation was better than episode 62 for sure. I definitely think 62 had kind of sloppy animation at points. It wasn't like the worst we've seen in Super, but it definitely was sloppy. But 63 was definitely an upgrade. It wasn't as good as 61 or 57, but it was pretty solid. And I think the best sequences would obviously be when Vegeta fought against Black, and the other would have to be for sure when Trunks fought against Black and Zamasu by the lake. I kind of like the whole scenery that they chose, how, you know, they're fighting, you know, near the hideout that, you know, Black and Zamasu were hiding out in. And to see like Trunks fighting against both of them by like using his sword versus Black's sword. I thought that was a really cool scene. So to talk about some interesting details here. So Mai's bullet had a slight effect on Black. I was actually kind of confused by this. Now, Dragon Ball has kind of showed us, obviously in Resurrection of F, where Goku was blasted by the chest, you know, pretty much when he was caught off guard, that a Dragon Ball character is not as durable as you would think when they're off guard. But you have to think to yourself, even if you're off guard, the fact that that pushed Black back makes me think that Bulma's energy bullets, if they can do that to Black, even if he's off guard, that would tell you that that would probably have an effect on a villain significantly weaker than Black. And Black is pretty much one of the strongest villains we've seen in Dragon Ball history at this point in time, if not the strongest. So you gotta think that if this worked on a villain like, let's say, Frieza, you gotta think that it might have a much stronger effect on him if it could push Black back, even if, you know, he was in his base form kind of holding back. So that's something I kind of want to get your opinion on, guys. Like, do you think that bullet would have worked significantly more on another weaker villain if it could work on Black? The other thing I want to talk about more so along the lines of Whis being an angel. Now, I said before I'm going to do a video going more in depth about this, but the interesting thing about Whis being an angel is you have to think, and I'm not going to make this into a religious conversation, but regardless of your religious preferences, if Whis is an angel, then you must think to yourself that Daishinkin, who was obviously working for Zeno a few episodes ago, he was obviously probably like a higher ranked angel too. So all of these angels in essence are kind of like servants of the Omni King, and in essence they're also servants of the gods of destruction. They have to keep a balance. So that's something I'm going to talk more so along the lines coming up next week, so stay tuned, guys. And the other thing I wanted to talk more about, guys, you know, for Vegeta is, do you guys think that Vegeta is stronger than Goku at this point? Now, the reason I'm saying this is if Goku spent his time back in the past, or present as I should say, you know, pretty much perfecting this Mafuba, you gotta think that Vegeta's probably stronger than him now if he trained and he and Goku are already around the same power level beforehand. So I kind of agree with Vegeta when he's pretty much saying that he's superior to Goku now, and he might even have to drop his power to fuse with him if they fuse in the future. And for my memorable moment of this episode, I kind of already talked about this before. It would definitely have to be when Vegeta grabs Black by his head and calls him a fake. That scene actually kind of reminded me of something from the Namek saga, where you see Vegeta fighting against Raccoon, and like Raccoon like slams Vegeta into the ground, and instead of pulling him up by his head, like Raccoon literally pulls him up by the leg like he's a vegetable, and they made like a whole vegetable pun on Vegeta. I thought that scene kind of reminded me of that. That level of disrespect was just awesome. So my key discussion for today, guys, is now that we've seen Trunks in this episode showing a true mastery of this Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan form, or whatever you want to call it, I'm starting to think that this is actually a legitimate actual transformation, because the fact that Trunks just used it like that tells you that he's kind of probably thought about practicing this form if he has some control over it. So the key discussion for today, guys, is, do you guys think Trunks kind of observed Vegeta using Super Saiyan Blue and kind of mixed it with Super Saiyan, or any other method of how Trunks learned this form? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, guys, on how do you think Trunks learned this technique, because it seems like it's something significantly more learned than something that was kind of just like an explosion of rage, like when Goku went Super Saiyan for the first time, or when Gohan went Super Saiyan 2 for the first time. So that's our key discussion, guys. How do you guys think that he learned this new Super Saiyan transformation? My guess is that he observed Vegeta using Super Saiyan Blue and kind of mixed it with his own Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 form. So overall, guys, I think this was a great episode. I think it's incredible how much they crammed into this episode by itself. It had good action, it had some good humor with the Yajirobe and the broken urn moments, and the plot progressed a lot in this episode. It's very shocking to see how much they crammed all into one. So honestly, because this episode felt like 3 episodes in one, and because the pacing was really good and I felt like something really happened, I'm gonna have to give this episode 5 stars. I probably would have only have given it 4 stars because I just didn't feel like the action sequences were as good as other episodes, but even though it was good enough, but I still think that this episode is you know, necessary of getting 5 stars. So it's kind of cool to see how we've been getting all these really good episodes. So for my predictions for episode 64, guys, it seems in preview that Zamasu and Black are going to fuse. My prediction is that the Mafuba is going to be rendered useless and Goku will have to fuse in the following episode. The reason why I'm saying this is because of the fact that Dragon Ball always has this recurring theme where like they show like a major thing happening at the end of one episode and then you have to wait for the next episode to see what happens. So what I think is going to happen is that when Goku and Vegeta have to eventually fuse in episode 65 after 64, I think the way they're going to do it is that Trunks is going to try and fight off Zamasu and Goku Black as Goku and Vegeta are going to try and fuse in the meantime, as he's been proven to be a good decoy. And they're going to have to use the airings of the Kais. The reason why I'm saying this, guys, is the plot is pretty much screaming in our face. The fact that they brought the Supreme Kai and Gowasu to this world, they are setting up a double fusion. It's obvious because why else would Zamasu come? I'm sorry, why else would Gowasu come? And what else could Gowasu do? He's not strong enough to compete with these guys, but he has airings and he can give them advice on how they could fuse into fighting this guy. So that's really the only thing he could do to really make an impact on the story, along with the Supreme Kai. So that's my guess, guys. The reason they brought Gowasu and Supreme Kai here is because they're going to give Goku and Vegeta airings in the future to go fight against Black and Zamasu. So the plot is preparing for it, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So that's been my review for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my episode 63 review and my episode 64 predictions. So please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys, and please support Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll will now be featuring all of the Dragon Ball Super episodes with subtitles, and the subtitles were very good. They were very well translated from what I saw, and I'm not basing this on my knowledge of Japanese or anything. I'm not knowledgeable in Japanese. I'm basing this off of the fact that it was very well in terms of how grammatically correct it was. It wasn't like off in any instances. So I thought it was great, guys, and please support Crunchyroll, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys, for the second time.